I did it. I did it. I did it. I want to share with you an accomplishment that I recently did, and this will be more on the technical side. So if technical, you're not able to understand it, then I don't know. I guess just a listen. Hear what I have to say. If you're ever working on this sort of thing, okay, web development. So working on a project for a little bit now. I can't go into details about that. Some of the information shouldn't be, it's not a public information about other people. But I have my own site. I work with WordPress websites. Okay, I do WordPress, and then I recently, worked on my own website to get that into Multisite to have it so I can create multiple sites under WordPress, which is what I did. And that's really, really cool because you can have multiple websites under one installation. When you upgrade plugins, when you upgrade WordPress, it all upgrades together. You don't have to pay for dedicated storage. You have it all under one, that sort of stuff, okay? So I had that all, and I was, very familiar with it. But then, the challenge that I was presented with that when I was working with these other WordPress sites is I needed to get a single WordPress installation into a multi-site one. Now this is a bit more challenging because if you've had a website around for years, a single installation, and you need to move it into another installation, the multi-site installation, it's not that simple as just copying your files and database stuff over, because with WordPress multi-site, there's different site IDs that you have to copy over. So this was a bit challenging. So if someone has 10 WordPress websites, okay, and let's just say they want to get the 11th one in there, the database for that needs to be carried over. It doesn't need to be the entire database of the original site. It needs to be certain tables, and that needs to be prefixed differently. So usually a WordPress installation will have WP underscore as the database name. Well, the tables inside the database, rather. And when you're dealing with multi-site, if site ID number 2, it would be WP underscore 2 underscore and then whatever the table name is. That's where it becomes a bit more challenging. Now, it's not that challenging because I did this all manually. I know you can use plugins and that sort of stuff, but I looked into that to make it easier. But honestly, it was a paid solution, and I know that wasn't what I was supposed to do. I wasn't supposed to buy something to transfer this over. I was supposed to do it manually, okay? So with that obstacle, I was like, oh, this isn't going to be too hard. I'll find out what tables need to be carried over and what needs to be done in order to get this to work right, okay? So I made sure that I tested this locally, okay? I copied all the tables over. I prefixed them. All of my options should have carried over, because that's the other thing. You have posts, you have the post meta, you have the options table, all that sort of stuff that's in there, but it won't carry over if you just do the standard WordPress importer and exporter that's built into WordPress. That's not going to carry over. Your options are not going to carry over. So I was like, okay, let me just, try this manually and see what happens. So I'm testing it locally. I created a new site locally, standard installation, created a lot of content there, and then I transferred that, into a multi-site locally, all locally, right on my computer to test. And everything went through, except I noticed they were like, when I went to create a new post, it would just show a blank screen. It would give me errors. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And then I realized, well, wait a minute. Some of the plugins from the original installation that I was using are actually not on this other installation. So I installed those additional plugins, tried it again, and it worked just fine. So I was like, okay, this will probably be good. And here's the other thing that makes it challenging. When you're dealing with the WordPress databases, I exported all the databases out into SQL files, and then I had to search inside of all those files, find and replace media content. So let's say, for example, example.com. Okay, let's just say that's going to be a new subsite of a multi-site WordPress installation. So all of the images there, all of the media content, that needs to be moved over to the WP uploads folder, WP content uploads folder, sites / whatever the ID is. It doesn't just go right into uploads, it goes into sites / let's say it's ID 3 / and then you put all your content there. But then you also need to search the database files and update all those records accordingly. So if it's example.com / WP content / uploads / whatever the month and year is, and whatever, and then the image file, you have to find and search and replace WP content uploads, and then put in site /3 into there. Oh, okay. So I made sure that I did all that before I tested it locally. There was a few other things that I had to make sure of as well. There were like multiple steps that I had written down just so I knew what to do when I'm actually going to implement it into the this live server. So I test it all. I finally get the new post feature to work. It's not blank anymore. It's just showing it correctly because I installed the proper plugins that needed for it to work. So now it's time to do it on the live server. Okay, so I create a backup first. That's number one. Create a backup. I did that. First I exported all of the original tables from the one website. And I fixed all the files, and I found and searched and replaced all of the entries inside there. So, the media content, the databases, and all that sort of stuff is reflected accordingly. So I create the new multi-site. I create the new website in the multi-site network. I do that. And then I go into the PHP My Admin and I remove all of the original tables for the third, the next entry there. There's actually more than 3 websites. There's a lot of websites, but let's just use 3 as an example. So I did that. I dropped them all, imported the ones that I created, that I exported from the original site. Okay, so they're all there. Everything's good. So then I'm testing the live site, and it's just, when I go to the domain name, it's just showing a blank page. I'm like, why is it doing that? And then, I try to look at the options and the plugins, and none of the settings carried over for some reason. I'm like, what the heck's going on? It turned out to actually be caching by the server, which I was not aware of. So I had to get that taken care of. I had to disable the caching. Disabling the caching allowed me to actually see, what was going on and everything, but things were still not working quite right. There was just something off with it. Some of the things were just messed up, so I restored it. I restored the website back to how it was before I did anything at all. So I'm like, okay, let's try this again. Let's try it again. This time with the caching off, no issues. Because that was the other thing. I actually restored it first, and that's when I noticed it was caching, because I restored the website back to how it was, and then I'm looking at the database, and it's like, these databases do not exist anymore. These tables do not exist in the database, but why is it still showing the admin site and all the plugins and all that? I'm like, it doesn't exist. because it was caching. It was caching good. It was caching real good. It was able to show stuff. I even let it go for a few hours just to see what would happen. A few hours later, it is still cached. I'm like, what? That's some crazy caching. So I disable the caching, and then it works. Little do I know, that caused a whole nother set of issues. Okay? So I restored back. So I try it all again. I attempt it again. This time, I export all of the, I import all the options, all the posts, all the tables again. Everything seems to be working a lot better now. Everything is functioning pretty good, except the whole website is so slow. And all of the websites under the multi-site network are all slow. And I'm kind of like, what in the world is going on here? I don't have a clue what's going on here. And then it was really late at night. It was like 1:30 or so. Or 2 maybe. I don't think it was quite 2. I think it was about like 1:30. Maybe 2, I don't know. But I'm just like, okay, maybe the server is having some issues right now. I'm going to just take a break, get some sleep, wake up in the morning. Wake up at 5 o'clock is when I go to work on the project again. So about 3 hours later, or 3.5 hours, I don't know the exact time frame. Probably about 5:30 I woke up. And I test it again. Still slow. I'm like, what in the world's going on? And I look at the admin center of the website. Not the WordPress, the server rather. The server admin center. And the CPU is just maxed on the server. Almost to the point of it reaching the quota that was set for the server. And I'm like, oh, no, we can't have this. What the heck's going on here? It turned out disabling the caching caused some sort of redirect thing that just kept going and going and going and going and going. So I disable the caching plugin on the website. I re-enable it. And it's speedy again. It's working just fine. I'm like, okay, what the heck's going on here? Because I actually restored it. That's right. I restored the website first to see if that would fix the slowness. It did not. So that's how I knew it has to be the caching. It's the only other thing. So I disabled that, re-enabled it. It's working. Now, mind you, this is with the caching disabled still, but I disabled the plugin and then I re-enabled the plugin in WordPress. And that worked. That reset, the caching stuff. And then it was speedy again. It worked just fine. So I'm like, okay, this other stuff is not transferring over right, because there was a bunch of other strange issues going on when I tried to transfer everything over manually. So what I decided to do is I'm just going to manually transfer over the tables for the post meta, and the other related categories and tags and that sort of stuff. I was going to keep the options just as it is. I'm not going to import the options because it's the options that screwed up everything. Importing the options, because you're going from a standard site installation to a multi-site, so obviously something was mismatched there and something was going on that wasn't working right. So I was like, let's just start with a brand new set of options. And there were so many plugins activated on this website that I had to go in there, go through every option on the original site. Then I had to do it on the multi-site network, just compare them back and forth. That took some time, doing this and that. And I'm like, okay, I think everything's good now. Then I have to change the authors of everything, because that's the other thing. With WordPress multi-site, users are stored in one database, the main database, not in a subset. So if you create an account on a website that uses WordPress multi-site, you're actually a member of all the websites that they have under their belt. So they could have 10 different websites under their belt, and you would be able to log into all those websites using your same email and password. That's cool, but it's also not cool if you have very, very different types of websites that aren't related to one another. It's not cool. But anyway, that is a whole other project in itself, transferring users over, because then you have to offset the IDs. The IDs aren't going to be the same. That's a whole other nightmare. So after all that, after I reset all the options, I test it then. I'm testing it. And it's like, this works. This works now. Everything's here. Everything is showing pretty much correctly. I just make a few minor tweaks and improvements, and everything is working. So I'm just like, yes. Finally, now this project is complete. So, if you if you want a website, WordPress Multisite, I now know how to do it very, very well. So, yeah, just let me know, and I can certainly help you with that. I charge by the second. Actually, I charge by the millisecond. I'm joking. I charge by the quintisecond. But anyway, so yeah, that was my hassle of WordPress Multisite. But now I know. Now I know what the best thing is, and it is probably, you probably could use the WordPress importer that they built, but I don't know. I didn't actually use that. I just did it manually. And maybe importing the options would have been, pretty good, but it just, for some reason, it just messed up the site. I don't know. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully you learned something from this. This is my pretty much day, technical website related stuff. That is what I do. That is the type of activities that I do. Not quite on a daily basis, but pretty good. So I have some questions here that I will be reading to you. Comments to reply back to your previous comments here in my previous video. So we were reading about people disagreeing with me, and I asked that 2 videos ago. Honestly, really no one, said much of anything, so, which is fine, because it's always good to disagree with someone. It really is. So let's take a look at some of your comments here. I have some Neon Chimp comments about Chimpy. I'm not gonna, you can go and see this for yourself, but so Jazz says, a trend that I notice is that even though some people might think things said were offensive at first, your personality and topics you discuss end up growing on us, and your happiness and personal growth almost rubbed off on us, and we grew too. At least that's how I feel. And even if someone doesn't agree with you, they should be able to just turn off the video and move on. Why get upset about what someone you've never met said online? That's a lesson that you've taught me, on top of many more. Well, thank you so much for the positivity, Jazz. Yes, I do teach. If you don't like something, it's okay to voice your opinion and this and that, but hating on someone, I don't understand that. Discriminating against someone, I don't understand that. Especially if it's something online, just move on. People who are unable to move on, I make video about that. It's this constant need to be obsessed over something. And I see it all the time. I see it on other people's videos. I see it on my own videos. People are so obsessed that they don't know how to turn away. It's like they're hurting so much inside, and they want to continue to hurt by watching my videos that they don't agree with. If you don't agree with it, if you hate me, if you hate everything that I say, why do you keep coming back? That's the question that, Jazz, a lot of these people need to ask themselves. And I think it comes down to their own self-hatred. They do not like themselves, so they want to keep punishing themselves with feeling negative. Life of a Rose says, I've been watching you for years. I love you, girl. We had a Skype call once before for a therapy session, and after just 15 minutes of talking, you really helped me change my mind about a lot and helped me be able to find myself again. Thank you so much for being you. I'm always going to support and love you. Well, thank you so much, Life of a Rose. I'm not sure exactly who you are that we've talked. I mean, there have been so many people who have, scheduled, but, I don't know exactly. I can't, quite put the face to the person, but I'm so glad that I've been able to help. I'm glad that we could connect, and I'm glad that I've been able to help you. That's absolutely amazing. That really is. And you've been watching me for years. That's always nice to hear as well. So thank you so much for supporting me all this time. And yeah, you just keep being you. That is what I teach. You know, I'm not one of these types of people who, you know, with a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists, they don't help you as much get to the root of the issue because they want to keep you as a client. I mean, it makes sense. It's an excellent business model. You know, if you're sick, if you're, you know, mentally have a mental illness, they can help you cope with certain things, but then if they help you too much, you're not going to be their client anymore. It's going to be like, oh, I'm losing out on money. That's like kind of what the pharmaceutical industry does. But all right, now our final question here is from Estrella. I know that this topic is already finished, but sometimes I have an impression that some of your educational videos are based on personal opinions and experiences and not from a depth research. I honestly can't remember which videos, but as some of the videos goes on, there is sometimes that you become repetitive with some specific idea and not gives a wide panorama of the topic. As I said, it's not something that happens in all your videos, but if what I think is wrong, it would be very helpful to give the links to the research that you can do to make the videos. And if it's based on the personal opinion, it would be great to address it to make it clear where you're coming from and to invite other people to research about it. Nevertheless, I've always liked the majority of your content till now since I discovered you in 2014. Well, thank you so much, Estrella. That is a very good comment indeed. Earlier on, in my earlier content, you know, if you started back 2014 and everything, I did not have any sort of resources. Okay, it was, a lot of my stuff is heavily researched. It's not just my own personal opinion. It's how I see the world, but there is science and evidence to back up some of those claims. Now, the thing is, we're all entitled to our own opinions. And let's take a perfect example of like food science, okay? Diet. If I say the vegan diet is the best for you and I show you all the science that backs up that claim, guess what? Someone who promotes an omnivore diet or a vegetarian diet or a carnivore diet even, I'm sure they have plenty of science to back up their claims as well. Science is very conflicting. That's what we have to remember. So I don't think there's a right and wrong in any sort of situation. It's doing what is best for your body. Okay? If I'm talking about something that's external, like if I'm talking about, you know, with the pesticides in the foods, for example. Okay, there's plenty of science that shows that they cause cancer and this and that, but also there's some science that is, you know, funded by the manufacturers of those companies that show, you know, it's a different story. So what I try to do is, yes, I try to have resources, but YouTube was blocking a lot of my videos when I was including a lot of links as resources. So going forward, I would not be doing that anymore. I guess what I will do, if it is a highly educational type of video, I guess what I'll do is I'll just have the article, I'll just have the resources on my website, automasterdo.com, which you can look at any time. But they're not going to be on YouTube anymore. Primarily, as I said, because YouTube is just blocking that content because they don't like too many external links. They don't like you linking to a bunch of different things. That's what I was doing in some of my videos. So I know there were a few videos that had a lot of links that a lot of people really enjoyed. And hopefully that was helpful and, you know, just help bring a wider idea. But here's the thing, even if you look at all those resources, you're still entitled to your own opinion. I'm not trying to change any of your opinion. Despite the fact, Estrella, that I am always right. You are wrong, I am always right. No. That is the beauty of it, okay? To us, we are always right. To me, I am always right. To you, you are always right. You know, that's our own personal beliefs. We don't want to be wrong because of the cognitive dissonance that we feel. So that's why I always say, we are never wrong, but we are also never right. We can never be right about everything, but in our mind, we are always right about the decisions that we make. We make the decisions that are right for us, that are best for us. And we really do. So find your own happiness, find whatever you resonate with, and go about that. There are plenty of people who watch my content who don't agree with everything that I say. But that's what we want. We want that challenging idea. Like, imagine if every single person was exactly the same. Would there be any point of me even making this video? Because all of you would already know exactly what I'm saying. You would be just clones of me. Or what if, I was exactly like you and everyone else was exactly like you? Would that be exciting at all? No. So that's how I view conflicting ideas. It's good to have a debate. It's good to have conflicting ideas, with someone else. But it's unhealthy to obsess over people. It's unhealthy to, belittle someone and call them out for, just not calling them out, but just being hateful towards them. And that's what you see a lot online. People hiding behind fake profiles. So many people on Facebook. That's why Facebook has a policy that you have to use your real name and your real pictures and everything. They don't want that fake crap on there, despite the fact that people still do it. That is an awful place. Twitter is also another pretty bad place, because there you have free reign to do pretty much anything you want there. So, yeah, people hide behind that stuff all the time. There are really narcissistic and arrogant people who hide behind these fake profiles who can't even show their face. They can't show their face because they are not happy with themselves. They lack confidence. If you're not going to say something to someone's face, don't say it to them online. It doesn't make sense. Okay? It doesn't. But anyway, that was it for today. Hope you all enjoyed this technical video. It's been on for a really long time now. You all take care. I'll catch you all later. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Okay? Bye-bye.